It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week we're preparing for Marvel's Kang Dynasty, and we'll talk about the movies in between Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars a little bit, possibly. Pretty excited for this. Boy, I tell you what, Aquaman early screenings are giving viewers a bad taste in their mouths, Mike.
I mean, we'll talk about that, but I'm a little surprised.
Yep, I agree. Warner Brothers wants more Lord of the Rings movies, Mike. I know you're hankering to go watch Lord of the Rings in theaters.
I saw the copy here, and I thought it was WB wants more Lord and Miller.
Oh yeah. They do.
Maybe they'll direct these Lord of the Rings movies. Wouldn't that be a kooky, wacky adventure?
Is not Lord and Miller Sony though, not Warner Brothers. So maybe they want to hire their own Lord and Miller.
You know what? How about it's us?
Yeah, we'll do it.
Let two people that just kind of know Lord of the Rings make your next
Lord and Miller,
saga.
Dillard and Royer. It rhymes. It's almost the same. Like
exactly.
You can hire us. We'll do it. We will Lord of the Rings you any way you want it. So so we're here this week. Kind of, I would say it's a lighter news week, right, Mike? We are usually the week after a movie drops. There's not a lot going on for us. As you know, we come into week 2 of Ant-Man, right? I've lost track of time completely.
I mean, it's great. I feel like I don't know exactly what's happening like physically in Hollywood, but I do feel as though after a big like superhero premiere, like people start talking more.
Yeah.
People start dropping like little rumors, like little tidbits here and there. They start like falling through the cracks. Sometimes it feels like a deliberate effort, right? They're like turning over like the Parmesan shaker and they're sprinkling over the news media. Okay, we got to get the next type train going.
Yeah, what keywords are not being saturated right now? And how can we jump on those? It's essentially like we'll talk about the Aquaman thing later. But it's funny because all the news articles I saw, they say Aquaman, and such and such, but all the pictures have Amber Heard as Mara in it, even though she's not even mentioned in the article. They're like really just tapping into that, and I'm like, and even if you look at the comments, everyone's like, this has nothing to do with Amber Heard. Why the hell are you putting this in the image? So that's a little tease for later, but it's just really
there
funny
is
to me.
Plenty of Aquaman viral marketing happening right now out here in Southern California, Chris, because we are wet as the saddest dog you've ever seen out here.
And a little snowy too, right? I've heard ice and snow, and
it's wild. Yeah, if you're here in the United States, like half of the country is like covered in like a superstorm of like water and snow, and the other half, like Chris, you happen to be in, or just like, what are you talking about? It's fine.
And it's blue skies. It's a nice, like yesterday was like a nice 55. It's gonna be 74 soon this week. Blue skies. It's great. I mean, normally it's the other way. Mike's usually getting the 74 while we're getting the nasty weather.
I could get in the car right now, and before the podcast even gets to what segment? I would say the Spider-Verse segment. Okay. I could be like touching snow, which is wild to be out here and seeing like people on social media like share like their houses covered in snow, and like the type of houses you see out here, like they can't handle this precipitation, man. It's wild. Like we had a leak in our sliding door, and not from like a blizzard, not from like hurricane like winds or anything like that. It just rained for more than like 12 hours. Like our infrastructure can't handle this much wet. So it's been kind of funny, but also not. So we're dealing with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There, I mean, like it's nice here. I told someone this week, and they're like, "What are you doing this week?" And I'm like, "Well, it's a lovely day. Weather looks nice to just stay inside and not do anything." Myself, but we'll jump into what we're doing. But I want to go ahead and just mention it because I'm very proud of this piece of work I've been working on, Mike. And I told you about it short. I have a 1971 or 72 Magnavox Astrosonic radio/record player that I got for free last summer, into the summer. And when I got it, it didn't work. Nothing. The volume would come on, but only out of one speaker. The record player had no needle, didn't even rotate the thing. So I've literally spent this weekend taking this thing apart, looking at all the manuals online, taking it apart, greasing bearings, re-oiling motors, and I have gotten it to like 95% working capacity, and because it is who I am, like I had a Bluetooth to it. You know that. You can't just let something sit as is. It wasn't hard. A lot of these have RCA things, but like I really appreciate this thing, because what happens is if you turn the volume to halfway, Mike, or the loudness knob, as they called it back then, it is louder than most other speakers in my house at full volume, which is crazy how much, I guess, work they put into these speakers back in the 60s and 70s to make them loud as hell and last forever.
It's always a little concerning, right? Because your dial, right, has about 365 degrees of motion. Yeah. And, like, you get on there and you turn it 5 degrees, and it's like, oh, my God, this is shaking the house. I can't imagine turning this the other 95%, you know?
I'm like, am I going to blow something? Is, like, a capacitor just going to, like, completely catch on fire in this board? But, like, you'd be really, like, there's a lot of, again, as anything, there's always, like, groups and communities out there who, like, work on, like, restoring these things. So it's really cool to see it. The other cool, I guess, funny part about this, and cool/funny, is my parents have one, but I didn't know this until I was like, hey, look what I got. And they're like, oh, we have one. And sent me a photo. It's the same exact model, same exact front, like, visual style, which is super rare to find two that look identical out of these. Because I don't know if you know this, like, these were all made in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Magnavox had the factory there, and like
local
all the repairs. Yeah, so it's I was like, oh, okay, that's fun. I was literally in Fort Wayne last weekend, so it's just funny that they're all local. But I'm very happy. I'm going to put some pictures and video up later, but like once it's working. But I am absolutely thrilled to get this working and play with it a little bit more. So I've been spending my time literally inside, like I said, learning a new skill. But you've looked like, is this a comedy special? I was going to ask you this. I don't know what it is, but tell me more.
Yes, it is. Old school physical marketing worked on me. There's a couple billboards around town for this Amazon Prime stand-up comedy special by the name of Nate Bargatze. I think that's how you say his last name, : Hello World. And, well, I should rephrase, not just physical marketing. I saw the billboards, but then I was also, like, targeted again. Like, what's the advertising rules? Like, once you see it, like, 3 times or, like, in 3 different places or something, like, they got you or something. But I also saw some, like, isolated clips uploaded to TikTok, and they were pretty funny. So we have some friends in town this weekend. Friend of the show, Quentin Parker, brought his family out here. They've been staying with us. They're like, yeah, let's watch something funny. Let's watch some stand-up. So threw this guy up on the TV on our Amazon Prime account, and it's hilarious. This dude is so funny, and it's just been a while since I feel like I've just like gutturally like laughed at like just some stand-up comedy jokes. Like I've watched some other like good seasoned comedians recently, and like, oh, these jokes are really funny, these are great, but like, man, he just had me busting. And he's kind of what you would consider like a clean comedian in a way, where like it's not like he won't tell like an inappropriate joke here or there, but the swear words, it's almost like he's trying to make an E for Everyone podcast like we attempt to do here every week, but doesn't always work. So all I'm saying is like you could sit down and watch this guy with your family too. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. But he has like a whole bit on like golfing, and I don't even golf, and I was just like dying on the ground. It was just, he's so funny. So go listen to Nate Bargatze, Hello World. Apparently he has some other slightly older stand-up specials on Netflix too, so I think I'm going to go check those out as well. But that dude had me laughing like crazy. Yeah. So yeah, go check out Nate Bargatze.
Yeah, it's funny for me because like I will go through I guess phases of where I want to watch several comedy specials in a row, and then I'll take a break for a while, then back. So maybe I'll get back into that mood sooner than later. Some of that stuff is pretty good. The last thing I want to touch on, my wife has been playing Hogwarts Legacy, Mike, almost directly taking over my Xbox for the past 2 weeks. It's been out, and that's fine. I've let her. She doesn't play a lot of games, but she did see the story through to fruition this weekend, Mike. And I wasn't going to bring this up till the story was done. And she probably has 40 hours in this game, not including side quests. I think she's maybe 50% done with the actual game before she beat the story. So I have to say I'm very impressed with the longevity of this game, despite, but first and foremost, we neither of us, I think we can both agree, we don't support what J.K. Rowling does. We don't believe in her. But, again, our wives are both huge Wizarding World fans, right, at the core of who they are. So she's been playing this, game. It's very, very huge map, very deep game, a lot more than I thought it would be.
There, as far as I can tell, there must be some sort of like stacking gameplay combat mechanics. Only because it's reaching the point where like now I'm seeing like clips of the game like shared online of like people like showing like their cool like combos like when they're like attacking like a troll or something like that. So yeah, it looks like they must have built something robust in there where like I just see like a dude like throwing up like some sort of like select wheel, like picking like a couple spells and like comboing a bunch of stuff. So it seems to be pretty built out.
Absolutely. There are, I believe, if I can't hear maybe 24, maybe 36 different spells maybe at the end of the day. And you can have different, like you mentioned, preset wheels. Like you can like, oh, this is my, fire wheel, and this is my, ice wheel. Whatever. That's a bad example, but because I haven't played. But like you can have different color spells on the wheel. You can go through them, but it's really, really. I'm just really impressed with the size of the game and like even like the character models, like how well they look when they're talking. It really like if you just put another skin on it, it would be like essentially I imagine like a Skyrim level, like a Elder Scrolls style game. So very impressed for that for people who are on the fence. I did see it was on sale at a couple places, maybe PC only, maybe not console. But I gotta say, despite the controversy on the creator side, the game as a whole delivers as a video game, and I never really expected that like out of this. Like I expected like something good, but like not like this level of detail and attention, and I'm thoroughly impressed. So I wasn't gonna say it until we actually until she beat the game, and she did beat the main storyline. Maybe not last time. I think maybe it had been Friday night. So very, very excited about that. I did find out something though, Mike. If you ever get to play this, or if anyone has to play this, you can accidentally. There's only 3 spells you can accidentally not get, and those are the unforgivable curses. So before you beat the game, make sure you have all 3 of those. Is what I will tell you right now.
Like I will get into the game someday. I don't know when. Yeah. I'll get into it. But I keep seeing people like put up like tips and tricks like, oh, did you know that you can get into this like one person's office and they have like a secret there? And I'm just like, no, I don't want to know yet. Yeah. So I feel like I'm on like a bit of like a spoiler warning. But yeah,
I think even if I think by the time, even if you saw it today, and by the time you get to it, you'll forget that even exists, because you're like
you're exactly right, Chris.
it is the castle alone is just ginormous. Not to mention the outside world.
Is it Hogwarts Castle?
Yeah, it is the Hogwarts.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was like some sort of facsimile to it. Like, does it feel like when you're walking around in it in the video game? Does it feel like it's like a different interpretation of the written text, or does it look more like the movies?
I couldn't tell you what the written one is, but it looks like the movies pretty well. But like, there's so much, like, because you only see certain parts of the movies, right? You don't see the whole castle. It feels more like a mix of both. Like, I'm like, oh, I recognize this like courtyard, or I recognize this bridge, but like there are parts in this I'm like, I don't remember a spiral staircase at all in the middle of this that built as you walked near it. But it's just ginormous. It's stupidly huge. I'm like, how do they do this? How do they build a game this large? Built on this world. So I can tell you a lot of the people in there, care and about the lore and the craft of what they're doing as a video game. And honestly, I've not even seen hardly any bugs either while she played. Like no glitches, nothing like that. So that's usually like the first thing I look for. I'm like, does it look weird? Is there some sort of like something preventing you from popping up? But it's very, very, very cool. So like I said again, if you don't if you're on the fence, buy it used, right? I think that's a good way for people to get their hands on it if they don't want to support the industry. But I really hope Warner Brothers as a company continues to make great games of this scale and quality going forward, if they will. So anyway, let's jump into news. Speaking of properties we're all excited for, The Mandalorian. It's this week, Mike. Season 3 is this week on Wednesday, March 1st. So did not believe it was already going to be here, but yeah, it is. So
creeping up on us, man. It's going to be great. We'll have Sundays will be The Last of Us for a couple more weeks, and we have The Mandalorian, and then a little less nerdy, but once Last of Us wraps up, Succession kicks back in, so I'll keep my premium TV watching rolling.
Yeah, that's true. And I believe Ted Lasso's March as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the show that I bring up every once in a while, Shrinking. starring Harrison Ford and Jason Segel. I think, yeah, right around that time that wraps up, Ted Lasso will take over.
Yeah, and those are both on Apple TV. Also, in case I mention this every other week, Bad Batch is still on Disney Plus. They're still going to go through April, so we're going to get double Star Wars drips, for a little bit there. So that's pretty fun. And then also a little news here. Jon Favreau, he's out doing the rounds for the premiere of this show. He's already written season 4, and apparently even props are being made for an October filming date for season 4.
Wow. Well, I mean, we all knew, right, The Mandalorian was going to keep going for sure. Mm-hmm. So not too surprising. But there's not an infinitesimal chance it could have been canceled, right?
Yeah.
I mean, well, I know Disney's going to start tightening its belt that they said on their quarterly earnings call, but yeah, we knew it wasn't going to be The Mandalorian.
Grogu merchandise is going to continue to build that up for a very long time.
And I mean, not even it's so funny because it was the Baby Yoda show, right? Unofficially for the longest time, but Pedro Pascal, man, holy crap! The Last of Us has kind of rocketed him into this otherworldly status. So I think people might be watching the show for him now, even though they don't get to see his face.
Yeah, well, and then also, Mandalorian armor is cool and unique, right? It's not Stormtrooper armor, so do you want to get some Mandalorian armor? Because I definitely see that being sold at Disneyland before the year's up. But I didn't know this, Mike, and it's going to tie into our next bit here, but there is a writers' strike on the horizon, possibly.
Yes.
And that is why they're trying to get this out the gate as quickly as they can before that happens this summer.
That might not be a bad idea. Yeah, unions out here are powerful. They're also very respected because that's where all the talent is located, right? Studios think that they can make whatever they want with the amount of money they have, but most of the talented working writers are in the union.
Yeah.
So I think the thing on the agenda this year for the writers is residuals just don't exist anymore really on broadcast TVs, and streaming networks have been using the excuse for a while now that they're new media. They couldn't possibly adhere to all of these kind of rules because they're new, they're young, they don't understand what's going on, but that just ain't the case anymore. So a writer's strike could be possible if they don't come to the bargaining table with some residuals from streaming, which I think is fair, because if you think about it, essentially YouTube is a residual kind of marketplace anyway, right? You get paid per your view, so I don't understand why the streaming services can't approach something kind of similar,
Yeah, well, and that's where I think if they do, that's where we're going to start seeing ad-supported tiers come in more frequently. They absolutely deserve paid. I just hate ad-supported tiers. You know this, Mike. You do the same thing, right?
Oh yeah, I will always pay.
So hopefully we can
the ad-free version.
Yeah, pay more and make sure they get paid as well at the end of the day. That ties into the next bit. Book of Boba Fett. It sounds like there might be season 2 in the cards. After all, now hopefully maybe it's not a Tatooine based thing. Maybe less sand, less spin shots. That didn't really bother me. But apparently sets and props are being made featuring the Firespray Gunship, previously known as the Slave One, and armor for the character. Now, he could always show up in The Mandalorian, right, obviously. But if there's a writer's strike on the horizon, maybe they spit out some scripts, right, early, so they can start working on this.
I'm curious, where you take the character of Boba Fett, right? I feel like he kind of went through his primary emotional arc in the first season of his show, and now he's just kind of set up to be a mob boss, but he's the people like him. So do you keep that rolling? Maybe
Mayor Fett, thank you very much, if you will.
Do you possibly roll the story back in a way, and maybe he tries to reckon with the idea of just being cloned? I think that's almost more interesting, right? I mean, you are a man that was cloned an ungodly amount of time. That would have to affect you mentally in some way,
Yeah.
Maybe explore that.
Well, to me, and this is no spoiler, but the Bad Batch deals with the other unaltered clone of Jango Fett, who is called Omega in that show, who would be the same age as Boba Fett at this time, right? So maybe it's a time for her to make that jump. Bad Batch wraps up, we jump forward 20 years, whatever it is, and 20-30 years, and now you have literally both versions of that.
This is what I'm pitching: a buddy cop with his twin, and then you include every single twin joke that any movie or TV show's ever made, where like they're like swapping clothes, they're pulling pranks on aliens, like, wait, you're over there, but you're over there. How did you get over there?
It's Omega with the mustache. He grows out a mustache, and then he starts doing the mustache thing back.
Yes, I love it.
But there's tons. I don't know again what they would do with this. I think obviously I think Star Wars, because of the length of the production on these shows, probably listens to feedback a little more. So if they do a season 2 of Boba Fett, I don't think we'll get the same show again, right? I think it'll go a little farther than The Sand. Moving forward, we're going to start talking Avengers stuff here. We got some superhero stuff. Rogers, the musical, is coming to Disneyland this summer, Mike. The stage play itself, after we've joked about it forever. I feel like we just did last week or 2 weeks ago. And then there was a trailer this week. About a dozen people sent this to me. And my wife was like, "Can we go?" I'm like, "We'll try to go this summer. We'll see what the seats are like to watch Rogers the musical at Disneyland." So
yeah, you gotta come visit us. We'll head down to Disneyland. I'm kind of curious because one thing that's kind of funny that I don't really care or even think about is Imagineers are always trying to add story reasons for anything that happens in these parks, which is just like, I don't care. Just make it a fun ride. You don't need to give me an in-world reasoning while it's there. But they do show, I guess, not Captain Carter, Agent Carter, like the silhouette of her going to see this musical. So like, is the story reasoning going to be something like, oh, she's like traveled through time and she is going to go check out this like musical that's more modern day to like catch up on things? I don't know. That might be kind of funny.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no idea. I mean, we got to sense out of Hawkeye, right? A little bit, it's the first Avengers movie, but told from the perspective of Ant-Man being there. And everyone's like, Ant-Man was, he kind of was because of Endgame, but like, I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm interested to see what they kind of do with this, right? At the end of the day, is this going to be one of those things that I don't know? Again, I don't know if is it a permanent residency? Is it something that's going to be there for a while, or do they end up do a short run, film it, put it on Disney Plus, in a couple of years?
Oh yeah, that could be a possibility.
And then it's just a bonus on the Marvel section on Disney Plus. So, yeah, I'm interested. I want to hear some reviews and see how this, because obviously in Hawkeye it was supposed to be, funny, inaccurate, like very, very over the top, which is like how plays and musicals are. So they really leaned into that. So I'd be excited to see kind of what they do with that at the end of the day. Shifting gears again, let's keep moving down. Thunderbolts, Mike. Thunderbolts apparently filmed in like 3 weeks. No, not Thunderbolts. Captain America films in like 3 weeks. Thunderbolts is after that, but great actor Steven Yeun joins the cast in a major role per the reports this week, Mike.
Steven Yeun's great. I mean, I feel like he made the right strategic call. Well, it's not even his call though, right? We all like his character was like destined to kind of be written off The Walking Dead, right? But he got out just in time. He got lucky, and his career's really taken off. I know he had that Oscar, I don't remember if it was winning, it was definitely nominated movie like a year or two ago. And then he was just in Jordan Peele's Up.
No, he was in Nope.
Nope, that's right. Nope.
I would love to see Jordan Peele's version of Disney's Up. But
he's a major player out there now. So I'm not surprised to see him joining the MCU.
Yeah, I just pull up his filmography just to kind of see what he's up to. Movie wise, he's kind of done some stuff here. Troll Hunters: Rise of the Titans, which I believe is on Netflix, right? That's a Del Toro piece.
Yeah, he's got a great voice for voice acting.
Invincible. That's what I was going to get to. He is invincible.
Of course. Yeah.
And then I think the recently canceled shows Tuca and Birdie, I believe, which had
he was
cast as well.
He was a bird in that.
Yeah. So really cool. I mean, and great for him. My theory. There's no rumors yet, there's no confirmation who he is, but I have a rumor that he's going to play the character Amadeus Cho. And I told this to you, Mike, and you were like,
Explain yourself, because I don't know who this character is.
Well, you were like, I looked him up. He looks just like the character in the comic books. This is exactly what you said. Amadeus Cho is technically one of the top 5 smartest people in the Marvel comic universe. And at some point in the comic books years ago, he and this is like the 2000s, he ends up becoming a Hulk himself, similar to like a Bruce Banner. Smart person, but he's able to retain his intelligence and persona in his Hulk form as well. Now, I did see, I was going to say, in Age of Ultron, I'm pulling it up here, there's a character, a scientist who puts the skin back on Hawkeye, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, they're like, Thor's going to be there. She's like, or she asked if Thor's going to be at this party.
Is that the same actress that is in like the extended cut of the movie that they aired in China?
Yeah, she.
Oh no,
you're thinking of Iron Man.
Iron Man 3, yeah. Is that the same character, though? I thought that might have been the same character, but maybe not.
No, I don't see her in that at all. So her name is Claudia Kim, and she plays the character Helen Cho, who is a world-renowned geneticist who helps the Avengers in Seoul. So that character, Helen Cho, is the mother of Amadeus Cho in the comic books. So
that'd be a fun backstory. I mean, you grow up with your mom who already knows all this stuff, then she's also had these like high level exposures to these superheroes. I could see that keying in pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. So she's worked with Vibranium, she's worked with Ultron, all this other stuff. So I think it would be again, this later I guess season Marvel is like starting to pull things out of movies that people didn't really care for at first, or like deeper cuts. And I feel like this Amadeus Cho would be a very, very interesting pull forward. Now, does he have to become a Hulk? No, but knowing that Red Hulk could be in this movie, right? And also, I believe, all the Captain America New World Order, there's a bunch of Hulks in there. Wouldn't be surprised if they do it at all. Now, if I'm completely wrong, I'm still fine with this. I think he's in a primary role. He's a great actor. I'm not worried either way, Mike. I don't know about you. So,
yeah, I mean, it obviously seems like Marvel is trying to work up to something with a ton of Hulks in it, right? We don't know if it's going to be necessarily like a battle world, like just scene, right? Kind of like similar to Endgame, where they kind of got different groups of heroes together for kind of like those hero shots and moments. So maybe that's what it is. But if this Universal contract deal can kind of expire, I mean, wouldn't it would be wild, just right? Just to see the chaos of like a bunch of Hulks just like going crazy. So yeah, I'm down for it.
Yeah, well, I think World War Hulk would be fun. Even if they, I mean, I don't think if we get there, great. If not, no big deal. But yeah, I think having a someone else who's I don't know, like a smart person who's a Hulk, and Mark Ruffalo. Well, I guess we did see him in his human form, didn't we? In the end of Shang-Chi. So he's got the inhibitor. So yeah, there's ways to do this. But yeah, it seems like they're building up to something at the end of this. So we will see him in Thunderbolts, which probably starts filming later this summer, maybe back half of the year. Buckle up. We've got 3 movies that were added to Marvel's production calendar, Mike. And the first one is one I don't think anybody expected to come out of this, and that is Eternals 2. So the Eternals 2, the sequel to the I wouldn't say maligned, but just the movie people from Phase 4 that people don't like the most, has been added to Marvel's production calendar, meaning this is likely a Phase 6 movie that has not been announced yet, right? They're not going to do Phase 7 now when they haven't even announced the other Phase 6 movies.
Yeah, I feel like no matter what you thought about Eternals, I think the sequel would have a lot more going for it, just simply because the story is kind of already put out there, right? You don't have to do this time-traveling journey through world history and, why aren't these characters intervening? What the hell are deviants? Do I even care about them? Blah, blah, blah. Like, now we're kind of divided up. We know that they're kind of like robots, but not really, and there's like giant like sentinels.
Well, the Celestials.
Celestials,
yeah. And we've had Celestials, but like I think the best part about it is also you mentioned everything you mentioned is absolutely true. We know what their powers are, and we know their personalities, right? We don't have to learn them individually over almost 3 hours. So They just jump right in and start going at it. I'm like, yep.
Yeah, we got like half of the cast running around in space. We got Harry Styles with his star power. And I wouldn't be surprised if, strategically, right, they need to reinvigorate people to go see it, because like the worst thing that could happen, right, is Eternals 2 comes out and it's another just like critical like bomb, right? They don't want to see that Rotten Tomatoes score again. Whether or not they should or shouldn't be paying attention to it, right, they can't repeat, right, with the same. So they're gonna, I wouldn't be surprised if they throw in like a big name, right, either a big Marvel hero that everybody already loves, they add them to the cast, or maybe they introduce a brand new hero that they're like, oh my god, I can't believe they're putting like, I don't know, like Cosmic Ghost Rider, something crazy that. They haven't even had a Ghost Rider proper yet, and they're just jumping all the way to Cosmic Ghost Rider just to really drive people like, to the theater.
And maybe big name actors too, right? Like is this a chance to bring in, huge name actors who have a draw, or like critically acclaimed, and like put them in these roles, right? The worst part, one of the biggest sins of the first Eternals is their villains are big gooey dudes who
amorphous kind of featureless creatures. It's a trope that I can't get around.
It's very, to me it always reminds me of Shazam 1, where like the 7 deadly sins are just gray gargoyles without any like like the smoke effects. So like I mean, this is not who I think it is, but like with them bringing Harrison Ford into Captain America, which was like a very big risk for them to even do Captain America, right? Like, is this a Denzel Washington in the MCU as an example? Like what big name actor do you get? Like, oh my god, that is the person, because we know who they are, we know what they look like, and that is the villain, right? It's not also a celestial that's just CGI monsters at the end of the day.
Or maybe they even tease something like a Galactus level type of thing, right? I don't know if it makes sense in the timeline version of the MCU, if we think it's ready to introduce that, but we're already dealing with like big celestials, right? Maybe.
Well, I mean, knowing that this is in between Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, what Kang variant do they fight? Because my again, the rumor is that every villain of every movie will have a Kang villain, right, running those movies in between those two. So Jonathan Majors going to get his workout, that's what I'm saying. But like, is it possibly like the Centurion or the Ramatut or the Immortus villain, right? At the end of the day in there. I don't think any of those three would be very good in Eternals too, but I don't know. I would love to I think we don't need CGI monsters or big space gods that who don't look like people, right? There's no connection to those.
We all just want the big giant celestial that's like poking out of the ocean explained.
Yeah.
Right. I guess it doesn't have to be in the next Eternals movie, but like everyone is just like, come on, you can't just have this happen and no one talk about it. Yeah. And do not point to that dumb recommended side article.
The She-Hulk is not.
She-Hulk is scrolling through her browser. Like that does not count.
Yeah. I honestly, to address that before, I honestly think Captain America will address that.
Let's hope. Let's hope so.
I really think it'll be a government battle over the Celestial's dead body. But either way, Eternals 2 did not. I think we kind of knew something was going to happen, but this kind of, to me, solidifies that. Like, it is coming. We're going to get it. Another movie added to this, I think we've just been waiting to know when this was going to be announced, was the Shang-Chi 2, right? Has been added to this production calendar. The tentative title that we've heard through the grapevine is the Shang-Chi, The Wreckage of Time, which would imply, again, that he's dealing with the Kang Dynasty's fallout, right? Doing that. So are his 10 rings, because they look like Kang's spaceship stuff, right? Are his rings, immune to the time, I guess, things that Kang is doing? What do we do with this?
Yeah, that's kind of what like our hanging Chad left over from the movie, right? Wong was saying that these rings are special in some way, so they're hinting towards something I'd like an explanation for. Really, what I want an explanation for, and I'm a broken record, Chris, I know I've said this a million times.
Is it the Celestial out of the ocean?
No. Okay. I need some sort of all-powerful being, maybe it's a Kang, to just show up and just explain all of these different worlds to me on screen for like 10 minutes. It could be like a TED Talk. They could totally break the whole story of the movie I'm watching, and it almost like cut to commercial. It's just like Jonathan Majors doing a TED talk, pointing to like a whiteboard. It's like, okay, so you know when Shang-Chi, they go to that other dimension, okay, and you know like Asgard, and you also have the quantum realm. Let me explain how all of these things work and how they all tie together, and then not to mention time travel and multiversal travel. So that's what I need. That's what I'm looking for. I'll be happy when I get it.
This is how you bring Louise from Ant-Man back, right? They didn't put him in Ant-Man 3. You put him in one of these movies and be like, hey, break it down for him.
I shouldn't besmirch a man without doing my extra research, but I thought I heard the actor was like a Scientologist. I'm gonna have to Google that before I double down on it. But that could be possibly the reason maybe we haven't seen him pop back up in the Ant-Man movies. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll look it up. I'll look it up while we're talking about it.
I can confirm he is. I just pulled it up.
No.
Since 2000. So I mean. It's been his whole career, so...
Well, that's the problem with Scientology, though. Once you get more famous and get more money, they just, like, indoctrinate you more. They make you crazier. Yeah. So
the worst part was he was in Moonfall last year. That's not good.
Well...
That's not good.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, they just kicked all those sites. Well, I mean, between him and T.I. having all those, legal troubles, like, everyone in that movie except David Dastmalchian got kicked out, but... Anyway, moving on. Shang-Chi 2, Wreckage of Time, to the title, added to the calendar. Lastly, the movie that, we know this is probably fast-tracked. I think we reported it before, but is Doctor Strange 3 has been added to the production calendar. And 99% sure this is a Phase 6 movie. And Doctor Strange is rumored to be a lead in the Secret Wars film as well. So this would lead into that pretty easily.
Well, I mean, he's a pretty good setup, right, for an all-knowing character. When he shows up and chats with some of the other heroes, usually you just assume what he's saying is the ultimate authority, and that was true when he had the Eye of Agamotto, and he was telling everybody what was going to happen with this battle with Thanos. So, yeah, I would imagine he would be in charge. And he's got seniority, I feel like, now, right? I mean, what... Was his Doctor Strange 1, was that Phase 3 or was that Phase 2?
It was 3. It was the second movie because Civil War was first and Doctor Strange was second.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So he's got the seniority out there. So I'd trust the big wizard with the glowing hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's got like a third eye now too.
Yeah, but he's been across different multiverses. He leaves with Clea to go work on incursions, which are the these different multiverses running into each other right after the death of He Who Remains. So absolutely could see him doing that. I also think it's kind of like how Ant-Man was like I think his movie was after Ant-Man 2 was after Infinity War, and he was like one of the lead characters of Endgame, right? Because of his ability to time travel. So
it is pretty funny though. Like if Scott Lang stepped up in front of all the heroes and tried to do like an impassioned speech, I don't think anyone would pay attention to him. But I think that works. It's funny.
I did see an article today about how Ant-Man saved the universe in the last movie, but in his most recent movie, he just completely messed up all of the multiverses in one go. Like maybe he killed the good Kang, right? I don't know, so we'll see. But Doctor Strange 3 on the production calendar, Mike, coming up. We'll talk about that later. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Ooh, did you see the Funkos drop for this week at all?
I did not, Chris.
There's a bunch of different Spider people, lots of them, and including the Punk Spider from the Spider-Man game. He's one of them. It's going to be huge. I think it's voiced by actor Daniel Kaluuya. He's pretty. That's pretty cool. Some other ones you can take a look into that. But the biggest rumor here is Tom Holland is rumored to cameo in this movie, Mike, this summer. And
fun.
Yep, this rumor also ties on that he will be the live action version, but the animated Miles will swing into his live action version. Kind of like what was that? Who Framed Roger Rabbit kind of scenario, like where there's live action animated together.
So we don't think we're gonna live action Miles.
Yes.
I mean, I guess that makes sense aesthetically, right? When we had the what was her name? The kind of anime manga spider.
Spider, like the SPIDR.
Yeah. I mean, she kind of carried over her art style from her universe, and even like Spider Noir, he was remained black and white the entire movie.
Spider-Ham kept his whole thing.
That's a better example.
Yeah, that's the quickest one.
Yeah. So I mean, that would be fun. Be watching this fully animated movie, then all of a sudden we have a live action segment. Yeah. It'll be like that Treehouse of Horror episode from The Simpsons. That'll be fun.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, oh, The Simpsons did it. Is exactly where my head was as well. But yeah, so we'll know more about this later. This movie comes out later this summer. So pretty stoked to watch this, Mike. I think this is one of the big check marks of the year.
I want a big old chonky box office return for this movie. Yeah. I want to see stellar numbers. And I'd be so happy.
I want it to be good. I don't put that first. I want this to be good. But yes, the whole time. So yeah, I want to see that and everything. But yeah, so that's our Spider-Man news. Let's jump into The Flash. Ooh, everyone's excited about The Flash all of a sudden. Nobody was excited 2 months ago. Now they're all excited. This will screen 2 months early at CinemaCon in April at Vegas. So if you're going to CinemaCon, you may have an opportunity to watch this movie 2 months before everybody else.
Yeah, I take two things out of this news, right? If they're willing to show a movie that early, that must be a good sign that it's at least reaching a level where it's entertaining, right? Nothing's going to really be a big red flag if they're going to let people see it that early.
Can I asterisk that real fast by saying
yes?
Everyone was hyped for the commercials, and maybe that's why they're doing it. Hopefully the movie maintains the quality of the commercials or the trailer, but maybe it could be a mix of both, right?
Yeah.
Public perception and that. Yeah.
It'll be at least serviceable. And also, I think the movie, just story-wise, narratively, is in such a weird flux moment where, like, Gunn and Safran could keep or ditch whatever they want, and it's not entirely sure what the future is, that maybe they're not really that worried about spoilers either, right? It's just like, well, yeah, you could like spoil the ending, but like there's no guarantee that that ending or that post-credit scenes, if they even include it in the screening, right, will even like carry over. So it's kind of almost like, it feels like a legacy movie, right? You know, we talked about the different categories that they had for all of their DC properties. Like, it feels like a legacy movie that, like, if it's good enough and if Ezra Miller behaves, they'll graduate it to like DCU proper. So they're probably like, we're not losing a whole lot by starting the hype train early on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's I agree. You know, anything that shows that early means the studio has faith in it, and knowing that the studio is now run by Gunn and Safran makes me feel a little better, right? Like, okay, they have faith in it. I remember seeing Guardians, like the scene from the prison breakout, like a month and a half early at IMAX, because they were so excited for that movie. And I think it helps build a little hype, right, for beforehand. So 2 months of hype is huge. So very, very excited for that. Before I get to the next bit, did you see that Shazam 2 is supposedly have like the lowest box office opening for DC ever?
Yeah.
I didn't want to put it in here, but I'm like, maybe we'll talk about it.
It's not too surprising. Okay, so anecdotally, you can't just look at one person, right, and just assume. But there's definitely at least another person thinking the same thing as me, though, right? Where it's just like, I don't have to rush to get these tickets. Yeah. It's not going to be hard for me to find a seat to see Shazam opening weekend. And on top of that, too, like, I don't know, like, the trailers are like fun, but I feel like as we've gotten the subsequent trailers, there hasn't been like some sort of like big reveal or big excitement. Or, like, it seems like they're trying to like get the hype focused around like this big like dragon that's in it, but like the dragon doesn't look too interesting to me, you know. It
feels similar to the last one, how it ended, right? Like there's just a bunch of battles going on around the city that looks the same.
And I will say that's just trailer-wise, right? I still think the movie could be of quality and entertaining to watch, and maybe you just can't cut like a super exciting trailer out of it. But yeah, if it's tracking that low, and just like we were talking about with The Flash, like I think Shazam is kind of also in that nebulous zone of just like, well, do we keep it around or not? What's exactly happening here?
The only reason it would keep it, again, and I've said this, is because Peter Safran has always been a producer on both Shazam movies. And I can see him be like, well, this is mine. If James Gunn gets to keep Peacemaker, I get to keep Shazam kind of going forward.
that could be.
But
we'll see.
Yeah, but like you said, it's got to make an impact for it to, I think, you know, earn a threequel at the end of the day. So, and they didn't really build any goodwill with Black Adam, right, last year with that.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Anyway, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. We were teasing this at the top of the show. Test screenings have referred to it as the worst DCEU movie yet.
Ooh, ouch.
Now,
I think we got to put the caveat in there, right? It's a test screening. We have no idea exactly what phase it is. But the movie's been in production for a while. If this news is coming out just now, I got to imagine it's close to the finished film.
Yeah, and well, the other thing is, I was reading, and this might be hyperbole, but apparently some test screeners even walked out of the movie. And I'm like, I almost don't believe that, because watching a test screener is kind of like a job, right? Like, you're getting something out of watching this movie. I'm sure they'd like, hey, watch all this and give us all your notes. And if you're walking out early, you're not getting it. But like, if that's true and you literally have test screeners walking out of your movie, what is wrong? Like, I'm just worried. Like, I expected a competent movie, not something this horrible. Like from everything.
I mean, besides the drama with Amber Heard in the movie, essentially the film had the exact same like creative vertical as the last one, right? Same director. Yeah. I don't know about necessarily the writer, but we have like the same main cast returning. It doesn't seem to be marred down with a lot of like the DCU like story drama. It seems like they're just pressing forward with more ocean stories, if you will. So, but now that I kind of think back to it, right, when I'm watching the original Aquaman movie, it did feel a little bit like teetering on the edge, right? I felt like, I was lucky that the movie leaned good for me and I had a good time, but it's not too hard to imagine it leaning the other way. So maybe that's just the coin flip of Aquaman movies, right? You know, it could go either way, and we got lucky with the first one. I'm not sure, but yeah, that is great. Worst. You know how hard it is for someone to say the worst DCEU movie out there with the work that they've been putting out for like the last 10 years. Ooh, that's rough.
The other part of this, which completely is blowing my mind, produced by Peter Safran yet again. Both of Safran's movies remaining in the DCEU are just absolutely, one's taking money, one's taking reviews, months ahead of time. Now, here's the other thing. The actor who plays Black Manta, what's his name? Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. He is moving to Wonder Man in the Marvel universe. So did he know this was going to be bad? And he's like, I got to get out. Like, I got to go get another role. Is this why Jason Momoa wants to be Lobo? Because he wants out. Like, he knows.
So I never once thought about this before until just now, because I feel like I'm starting to see just enough red flags in general. Now, I'm not saying this is likely, but Chris, you mentioned this rumor like a week or so ago that there's a possibility out there that Warner Brothers just does not have enough money, and they're just banking their future on the success of their like new universe, and they're going to use each movie to pay for the subsequent movie after, right? Yeah. Well, if that doesn't work, a business is just going to have to do what a business does, and maybe Warner Brothers sells their rights to all these DC characters. You know, I'm not saying it's a smart decision, because like I think eventually you can get more money out of it for sure. But you know, if they were trying to stay afloat, just trying to stay alive as a business and have like a streaming service somewhere along the lines, like maybe they do sell it. And now I'm starting to think, well, who has the money? Like, does Amazon come in and buy like DC? Does Apple pony up? And I feel like if you're a studio out there and you buy DC, the rights to all of these DC characters, like you all of a sudden go from like just, you know, a side business to like you are now competing, right? You are now up there. So I'm just going to start putting it out there now. Yeah. I think the future of DC at Warner Brothers is not set in stone if they keep posting all of these L's.
Well, yeah, and while this isn't a true L yet, right? You know, we're still 6-7 months away. They can't afford the bad publicity this early, right? Like. We're not hyped for anything this year.
Kid, just imagine James Gunn's Superman comes out, right? This thing that's supposed to kickstart everything, and it's just garbage. Like, I think James Gunn is a competent filmmaker where he can't make something garbage, right? Something that bad. We might not enjoy some of his rot humor all the time. But I don't think he can make something totally devoid of entertainment. But like, what if it happened, right? What if it did? They have like a similar outing that Marvel has been having, where like the Rotten Tomato scores are bad, the critics don't like it, and all of the fans are just like, see, they should have just kept like Snyder's verse going, and then what do they do? Yeah. I'm just saying, it's a possibility. We'll see what happens.
Even just like I think it's a bad example to say garbage, because Marvel's, they're just hitting mediocrity, right? And what if in Superman, your biggest moneymaker next to Batman, is just mediocre on launch, right? Like, it's not mind-blowing, it's not earth-changing, it's just Man of Steel again, right? And nothing in Man of Steel is fine, but like, it never came to fruition, like the potentiality of it. So what if it came there and, like you said, like they take what if they take out of the 3 DC movies coming out this year, two are L's and one's a win? What good faith do you go into, in 2 years, Superman with? Like, you have nothing for 2 years. Like, what do you do all of next year, like 2024, right? Make people forget about it? Maybe that's their goal. Just like, hey, we're gonna bury this stuff for a good year and a half, and then come out with something else. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I would say this is a great pitch to stay subscribed and keep listening to us, because we will track all of this nonsense.
That's right. This is just another, when they announced the DCEU slate, that just renewed us for another 10 years after Superman launches. So we feel confident in that. We're uncancelable. Keep it in the same vein of Warner Brothers gains, which we mentioned earlier with Hogwarts Legacy and DC movies, as Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, the game coming out as 4-player co-op. And as Mike discovered today, shooter, a very much a hyper shooter, if you will.
Yeah, it was like a 6-minute gameplay video. So I was like, I'll skip around and jump around, and I was just like, okay, we start off. Deadshot's got a gun, makes total sense, right?
Absolutely.
Then I clicked Captain Boomerang. I was like, Captain Boomerang? Okay, he's got a gun, but okay, I guess he can't just literally throw a boomerang around the whole game. Yep. And then I clicked next, and it's like, oh, the shark has a Gatling gun, and then at the end, Harley Quinn has like a revolver. They all got guns. I thought it was going to be maybe a little bit more than a shooter, but I probably wasn't really going to play this game anyway. I just kind of pretend so we can talk about it on the show.
This one, I think, the potentiality of playing an anti-hero, I think, had the most fun, right? You're not Batman and Superman who doesn't kill. Like, these people will kill, and we have hordes of enemies. But like, to me, and I said this to you, if you don't like Avengers, the Marvel's Avengers game that came out 3 years ago, you're not going to like this, because it looks almost identical, if I'm going to be completely honest. Like, just more vertical with shooting, rather than actually having what look like, Marvel has abilities to reach. This is just a shooter, but like vertically. And apparently it's got a bunch of live service features, like buy more characters, buy more skins, and stuff like that.
I've been seeing those like screenshots float around online, and people aren't too happy about it. I will say, though, I'm not trying to like trash the game ahead of time. It looks very polished, and it looks like it could be a lot of fun. The cutscenes, like, even though this is a gameplay trailer, there's like a hefty amount of it is like cutscenes, and they look really, really cool, right? Maybe if this is a game you don't necessarily want to invest your mental bandwidth into, start it up and then just put it on the easiest setting, and then you can kind of just like plow through and then just like kind of play the story, because I think the story just looks entertaining, because like, you don't often get all of these characters together in a narrative, right? I think like the last time, I've seen all of these heroes together was like the 2D animated series, right? when they all got to like play around in the same sandbox. So yeah, at the very least, right, I could see this being a nice compilation on YouTube of cutscenes.
So here are 2 reasons why I will probably play it. Maybe not at launch, but I will play it. Number one, this is set in the Arkham universe. So if you've played any of the Arkham games, this is 5 years after Arkham Knight. So it's the same world, which is crazy to me to even think that, right? Like, it doesn't look like the Arkham world, because it didn't really get much beyond the Batman villains there. So the fact we get the Flash, Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, crazy. And then also it is the last voice performance by Kevin Conroy, who played Batman before he passed. So so I'm just like, ooh, like it may not be day one play, but like I'm like, oh, maybe if I get a free weekend or something, or like I find it cheap, I might just buy it for a weekend and knock it out, kind of thing. So like those are like the two only reasons I would probably get at this. But like it was hard to tell the characters apart. Like right in that trailer, you're like, they all got guns. Some have bigger guns, some have smaller guns, but they all seem to float as well. Did you notice that? Like when you go to shoot, your characters just hover in the air, and you can like unload your bullets into them a little bit. So yeah, I like I said, I don't think it's a must buy. I'm not hating on the game. But after the launch of what was it, Gotham Knights that came out a couple months ago, and how badly that kind of did, I'm like, I'm cautiously optimistic. But Warner Brothers has surprised me with Hogwarts Legacy. Maybe they'll surprise me with this as well. All right, so you folks get a very rare treat on the show today. Mike has been saving this link in our show notes until this very moment.
I was so close to clicking on it, like maybe like an hour ago, and I was like, no, I'll wait.
Yeah, so we have the first toys to reveal the looks for the upcoming Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem animated movie from Seth Rogen. And here
all right.
in our show notes, it's going to redirect us to Twitter.
Ooh, I'm excited. I feel like I really built this up.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's been taken down by the copyright.
No! I wasn't expecting this.
Oh my! It was literally up yesterday. I went through and so I'm going to find this. But one of our longest running jokes for a while was the Mike loves the turtles, and he does. But while I'm looking this up, Mike, go ahead and tell me what you want to get out of this Turtles movie from Seth Rogen.
Oh my gosh, I just love the Turtles, and I think it's healthy to think about the Turtles similar how you would think about like Scooby and the gang, right? You know, it's just this everlasting kind of intellectual property, to kind of unromanticize it with that term. So, like, there's always going to be versions of it, right? You know, every generation is going to have, like, multiple versions of the Turtles to, like, love and engage with. So it's just fun to have, like, a creative that I like, Seth Rogen, to tackle the Turtles. And you know Seth Rogen, right? I don't even have to look up an interview with him to know that he grew up on, like, the Turtles, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he's older than me, too. So he's definitely the generation that would have been reading the Eastman and Laird, right? Are those the two that did the original comic?
Yeah, Kevin Eastman and
something Laird. I want to say Peter Laird, but I don't know if it's Peter. Yeah. So like it's just like, I'm just excited. So I think that they would have the courage to like kind of take the characters in more of like a wacky direction, but I have to wait until you find it, Chris.
Oh, it's updated. It's in the show link. It has been updated.
Right.
There are 9 toys here. And you're gonna get your first look at them right away.
Okay. So I'm avoiding looking at the toys. I'm mainly looking at the box art because that's gonna be like the key art that really shows them off here. All right. So they seem to be pretty traditional looking for the most part with being turtles. Let's see here.
So I mean, I'm just kind of looking at them here. You know, we have. I'm just gonna list them off: Splinter, Raphael, Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, Leatherhead, Superfly, Rocksteady, and Bebop. The classic villains here that look like they're all going to be in this movie at some capacity, if you will.
Yeah, it's a very cartoony look. Now, I'm looking at the characters on the box, and they seem to kind of have that like hand-drawn textured style that we kind of see on the Spider-Verse characters. So I would take this as a hope that like Nickelodeon kind of wants to join the ranks of like Spider-Verse, like Puss in Boots, some more of these like experimental like texture look on their characters. So I'm hoping to get that out of that. But also now I'm looking at the toys, because if you look outside of just the Turtles in general, like the proportions are like hilarious. Like Rocksteady has like this gigantic, hilarious like hump, which kind of makes me think of Kingpin.
It looks like Kingpin.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, exactly. Kingpin does that. They all have like exaggerated features, if you will. The villains do.
This feels extraordinarily kind of like 90s to me in like a good way. Like these just look like this is just going to be like a fun romp.
Yeah.
Like Leatherhead is like hilarious. Like this is great.
Well, Splinter also has sunglasses on, so it makes me think maybe is he vision impaired? Is he blind, if you will? In this version, I don't think he's wearing them because he thinks he's cool. And somebody else knows Michelangelo has a different color. He's a different color green than the other ones. Now, it might be the photo, but the orange seems to line up across the board.
Oh, Yeah, he does seem to be slightly color shifted. I wonder if they're all a little bit like that. Raph has like the overall head bandana, which is cool. We got Donatello in glasses, which isn't wholly different from the last iteration we saw of Donatello in Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja. I can't even say that.
Yeah, just Rise.
Just Rise. He had kind of like these goggles, binoculars, and stuff on. And
him and Leonardo seem very, very close in like look and feel, if I'm going to be honest. Whereas Michelangelo, you get their vibes a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Like, each character kind of has, like, a set of accessories that are kind of in that, like, plastic molding that you can undo.
Yeah,
and I can only, unfortunately, see one slice of pizza with Donatello.
Yeah.
I hope the other turtles have a slice of pizza as well. That is my only requirement.
They all have baby versions of themselves without
ooze.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Oh, I love, like, so I'm looking at Michelangelo right now. He has, like, nunchucks. I loved that stuff when I was a kid. I loved it when characters had some sort of like functional accessory because like, yeah, Donatello has like his staff and Leo has his like swords, but they're just all like a single molded piece. Like the fact that, they would go out of their way to like make the chain link. So yeah, this is bringing me like nostalgia, which is great because they're not just like rebooting necessarily the same turtles I grew up with. So overall, this is positive. I want to see a trailer because they have all of this key art promotion ready. That means they've have all of the characters like signed off on creative because they would never make these packages if the characters weren't final. So there's got to be like a movie poster or a trailer out there soon.
Yeah, I'm really crossing my fingers sooner than later, right? Maybe with Mario. I mean, I don't know why, but like,
it's a cross audience, that's for sure.
Yeah, I always, same era, both 80s, right? So you never know. But yeah, take a look at the link is in our show notes. This should last. This shouldn't go away this time. Lastly, Lord of the Rings, Mike. I know this has to do with the Amazon show, the Rings of Power. This is Warner Brothers proper. They're out there saying we have the rights to these movies. We want to make more movies based on the characters we have. And Lord of the Rings, obviously, on the 20th anniversary, this year is the 20th year of Return of the King, by the way, if you want to put that down. But, they're not saying, are they going to remake the movies and make them more book appropriate? Are they going to do spin-off movies? What are they going to do? There's no indication on time period or characters. And I'm just like, this... I hate when you do this. Don't do this to us.
You're blowing my mind that you said 20 years, right? Because when I saw this headline pop up, I just automatically thought they're going to remake them. I'm like, oh, it's too soon. These movies are still too fresh in my head. But now the fact that it's been 20 years, I would say that just goes to show you how well Peter Jackson did with that original trilogy. Like it's like basically making like a Star Wars, right? We can't even imagine them remaking the original Star Wars trilogy, right? You kind of just have to add on to it because it's just so classic. It's so in the history of cinema. So yeah, I would think if they're smart, what they do is they just try to expand or add-on additions, right? I don't know, like I said at the top of the show, I'm no Lord of the Rings like fan in a way where like I'm precious about the material, so I don't know if it's like necessarily like sacrilege to make like a new movie where we follow like Legolas like after Return of the King. Like, is that sacrilege? Is that story even written, right? I know the Silmarillion has like all of this additional information, but I think it end after Return of the King? Did Tolkien write anything after? So are they going to be inventing brand new narratives which people are just going to like scoff at? I don't know. Or do you try to like carve in like little mini movies? Like, well, how about a movie that happened between like Two Towers and Return of the King? Is that possible? Or do you go like super small and just tell like a little story where it doesn't even really matter because it doesn't connect? I don't know. What's the strategy here?
No, I think the strategy is we have an IP that we're not milking and we need to do it because we have no money to make movies.
That's the right answer for sure.
To me, I think, there are some Lord of the Rings video games coming out that look pretty good. A lot of the characters from Peter Jackson's have been done really well. Now, if they want to remake it, my fear again, that I hate is that it's going to be overly CGI like the Hobbit movies were. Because that practicality of the originals, the extra footage that they shot, the extended editions, that is just something you don't get anymore, right? Care, craft, love, money well spent that has come back and earned them dividends upon dividends. And people love it. Like, it's hard to find a critic of those original movies, right? They just really knocked it out of the park. Now, what I would like to see, you build the world a little bit more. I know we have the Second Age, right, with the Rings of Power. Maybe work with Amazon, right? Like, hey, let's not just be assholes about this and make movies that we want to make. Let's work together and just keep going on this universe and build this all together, right? And I think there's opportunity. They're doing that with Godzilla and the MonsterVerse, right? Apple TV has Godzilla. Someone else has the Kong stuff. They're making another movie at Warner Brothers. Like, let's stop fighting for box office and let's do this together, because I think that's going to be the best way to go forward.
Yeah, I mean, if Marvel and Sony can do it, I synergy, that's the big Hollywood word, it makes money. It seems like maybe the most obvious thing left on the table, and please tell me the name of these characters if you know, Chris, because I don't know. But all I know is when I turned on episode 1 of The Rings of Power, I had a whole narration at the beginning of the first episode that said, "Oh, there's a lot of stuff that already happened. This is the
first
story
stage,
about."
Yeah,
the first stage. So is that the movie that that they make?
The first stage is a lot of God. It's essentially gods versus angels of this world, right? Like the demons and angels. There's a character called Morgoth who Sauron works for.
That's the character. I was
Morgoth. So do we go down a Morgoth path? Do we, Lord of the Rings takes place over a couple years, maybe, right? Maybe a year or so travel. Is there you have thousands and thousands of years? Are there other stories that are not related to this, akin to maybe the Mandalorian, right, of Star Wars? Like, hey, do we have some other characters who we've never met before but can go on a story that's adjacent to all this other shit? They know about it, maybe they would come across a Gandalf somewhere, but is there something they can do?
Is Morgoth this is an in the weeds question. Is Morgoth really tall? Because I'm just Googling image searching just to see he vaguely resembles Sauron in a sense of he has very spooky looking armor. But I'm seeing some concept art of he's just really big, the size of a mountain. I'm is that magic? Is that power? What's happening?
He's
here?
essentially the devil, if you will, of if it's Vanir and Aenir are gods and angels, and he was one of them an angel who turned evil, and he started creating the goblins and orcs and stuff like that. The Morgoth I know is more like a big spider dude. Have you come across the spider?
I literally just clicked on a spidery version.
Yeah, so he normally has a spider-esque kind of look is from some find out, but he's just a very, very obnoxiously large dude as well.
And since we know Amazon only specifically kind of has the rights to the Rings of Power era, right? This
Second
should
Age,
be up for Pickens for Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Okay, so this makes the most sense. This would make the least people angry. This has the most flex. This has the most flexibility because, as you said, Galadriel wouldn't even be alive, right, during this first stage. I don't even know if that's right, but it seems if this is so far back, you could just whole new cast of characters. You don't have to worry about trying to work in a Gandalf anywhere,
She might have been alive because I think her brother was killed in the war against Morgoth, right? And
oh, maybe you're right.
But they're they live in this paradise, so the Garden of Eden for elves before she even came over to the I guess Middle Earth, if you will. So there's opportunity to have her there, but it doesn't have to focus on her if you don't want to.
Please stay subscribed to the Superhero Slate podcast so you can listen to our expert opinions of the Lord of the Rings franchise as we fumble through this.
This is my favorite bit. I have two favorite bits. One is where we're the guys who know everything about Harry Potter, and also the guys who know everything about Lord of the Rings.
And I slightly keep up with anime. We're just so busy. We're busy adults. We can't watch and read everything all the time, right?
Well, we can. We have this show. We actually put content out, which is crazy. And occasionally you can write something that's down and it becomes fan fiction if you really want to. Mike's really good at making up stories here. But
we try in earnest over here, okay? That's all we're doing.
Exactly. So, Lord of the Rings topics done. Before we get to the end of the show, because that's the last topic, I want to mention one thing that happened to me on Thursday, Mike. I haven't got to tell you yet.
Ooh.
So like 9, I get to work early. We're hiring some people. I have interviews, stuff, whatever. So I'm at my desk talking to, I guess, my desk mate who's on the other side of the wall. She has a son who's probably, in his mid-20s, and she's like, yeah, do you know any comic book stores that have Gundam models? And I'm like, yes, I do. Ooh. She's like, oh, yeah, I used to go home and watch Gundam Wing with my son in the 90s whenever he got home from school. I'm like, oh my God, yes. Look at us. We now have things to talk about. We have Gundam Wing to talk about at work.
What a great mom.
Yeah, I know. I was like, she's like, yeah, I want to get some models for him so he can build them. I'm like, I can hook you up. I know exactly what to do here and where to go. And let's talk about Gundam Wing for a minute here. Let's break this down.
Oh my God.
So she didn't even know they had a movie, and I was like, yep, you got to go get this. And if you can't find it, I have the DVD. I'll let you borrow it. It's just so funny. Like I was like, Mike knows Gundam Wing. I'm gonna bring this up. So, but yeah.
Well, that's great, and I do have to say before we finally roll off our final topic here, because I think this is pretty special and pretty amazing. If you are in the Houston area, there is a restaurant. I guess Houston's own. I guess it's just called the Hobbit Cafe in Houston.
Wow.
They have a Morgoth burger. It is gigantic. It has horns. It looks like one horn is a mozzarella stick and the other one is 4 onion rings with a taco adorned on top of it. And that you're not even to the first bun of the burger yet. This thing is insane. And I thought this was maybe like published like a long time ago, like back when Lord of the Rings was coming out. No, this was published in June 2022. This may still be on the menu. If you are in Houston, oh my gosh, you got to order this thing. This is massive. This is great. I'm going to put this in. This in the show.
Already got it.
You got it in the show notes.
It's in the show notes. You can click and take a look at this huge. It's just a melty pile of cheese too. Like
it's so big that they had to make a diagram for it. There's like a chalkboard diagram.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a shrimp roll. It has an orc popper, which I'm assuming is like a jalapeno popper.
Yep.
Oh, it's fried pickles, not fried onion rings. Okay, so you got four fried pickles. You got a bun. We got 4 X cheddar cheese and some jack cheese. A boudin link. We got 1
patties.
Patty 1, Chipotle Caesar. Chipotle Caesar sounds really good. I never thought about combining those two. This is insane. Yeah. This is great. Someone go eat this thing. This is nuts.
They even throw some spring mix in there if you're feeling like it's a little unhealthy for you. So get your greens.
This is my favorite.
And you get a free T-shirt upon completion. So
it's my favorite part of the show when it goes off the rails at the end, and we're just like finding stuff on the internet.
We haven't had a food opening conversation in a hot minute, so we need to work on that. My wife did bring home Dr. Pepper Peeps. They are making Dr. Pepper Peeps. You can get those.
Oh, it's funny. I drank the Pepsi Peeps, and now I can eat the version.
You can drink Peeps or you can eat soda Peeps. It's crazy, but what do they come up with next, Mike? We'll never know.
You know what? If you do believe in Jesus Christ out there, I guess
this is getting wild.
That's one way to celebrate.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think he's going to come back from the resurrection and be like, hell yeah, I was expecting all of this Peep stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah, I thought
I would have came back a long time ago if they would have had this stuff.
I thought you guys were going to stop at just regular Peeps, but you have really outdone yourselves here. For sure.
Like, oh, well, we thought it might be sacrilegious, Jesus. He's like, no. I like this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I left because things were getting lame and boring, but now stuff's cool.
I had to come back
Let's
to
go watch The Last of Us.
Yeah, when Marshmallows were
I was waiting until the last episode of The Last of Us aired, then I was going to come back and watch it with everybody.
Yeah. Binge it all in one day. All right, that's time to go. That's a good note to end on, Mike. So let's get out of here. If people know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they get you at, buddy?
Oh, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to check you out, see what you're doing, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, VLDAN. If I'm on there, I don't think I'm even on there anymore. I get weird notifications. I don't like it. Our Instagram, Valdan87. If people know about the show, what we're doing, come back and listen to us every week, because we're here every week for the next 10 years. Well, this DCEU is possibly popping off. Where can they find it at?
Oh, God, I don't want to imagine being in my 40s doing this, but it sounds like it's going to happen. You can find this at superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues to host our show. To get our awesome show notes, so you know you want to check out those turtle toys that we talked about, that is in our show notes at superheroslate.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and, we have a podcast like service that just injects it into just I don't even need to say this every week where it is. Like, podcasts are just everywhere. They're ubiquitous. That's the whole point. So just subscribe, listen. We love you. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. we love hearing from you. Reach out, let us know what you're doing, what you're watching, what you're excited for. We always love that.
If you're eating the Morgoth burgers, let us know.
Oh my God! If you eat the Morgoth burger, I'm gonna lose it in a good way. But we love our super fans, and obviously ordering a Morgoth burger will make you a super fan. But if you want to go maybe a slightly less caloric route, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, folks.
Or you can pay us $10 and get the Superhero Slate verified checkmark on your social media profile.
How much is this? How much is this Morgoth burger? I don't know. I'm gonna guess like $40. That's my guess.
Okay, are we looking it up here? Are we gonna?
No, I wasn't looking it up. I was just throwing it out there.
It was about $40. The Morgoth was about $40.
Look at that. Well, with the inflation since 2022, maybe throw on. Always tip your server too. Yep. So expect to at least be tipping $8 on that burger.
The Hobbit Cafe is on Grubhub.
Yeah. Will they deliver this far?
I don't. I'm seeing all sorts of. Oh my God! I'm gonna send you this link, Mike. You'll look up the names of some of this stuff. But yeah, we'll be back next week, guys. We'll see you then.
All right, bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.